Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card. So today's pick a card, we're going to do something a little bit different in how it's all sort of set up in the first stages, and then sort of I guess the rest will be fairly familiar in the way that I do readings in that kind of structured, let's cover all the different lenses sort of way. This is a reading about what powerful spiritual entity has a message for you. And connected to it is also another couple of powerful ones that maybe have subsidiary or associated messages that are important to put in that context. And the way we're going to work that out is that firstly, it's going to be a different tarot deck depending upon which pile you choose. So that might help you with the pile choice. And the card that I shuffled and asked for a major arcana card to show me some contextual thing for what this message is about. So the card gives us a bit of an idea about what the message is about, which I'll talk about at the beginning. But what you'll find when you click on your pile is you'll have the major arcana card there, and then you'll have three cards that are turned face down, and they are three spiritual beings, powerful spiritual beings from the Pandemonia Altar Oracle Statue deck. And that is to work out what is who is the powerful one that's mainly coming forward, the main message for you, and what are the ancillary supporting messages and supporting energies. So I'll be asking you to choose again. So you'll choose pile here, and then I'll be asking you to choose a number from 1 to 3. And then whatever number you choose, that will be the main spiritual being, and from there we'll look at the others, so that when I'm looking at the messages, and we're just going to go through the messages from each of the three with tarot, I'll talk about if it's a main message, and I'll talk about if it's an ancillary message, connecting back to whatever the key area is. So that's what we're going to do to sort of like set it up and do the tarot part, and then we'll move on to some other kind of fortune related, primarily other pieces of information to help you use those messages well. So hopefully that sort of explained what we're going to do, and it'll become more obvious as we do it. But beyond that, the only thing to do is choose your pile. So for pile number 1, we have Nightshade Tarot with the Strength card. For pile number 2, we have the Dark Mansions Tarot with the Hierophant. And for pile number 3, we have the Ouroboros Tarot with the Sun. So you can, of course, go to more than one reading. You might have a whole team of spiritual messengers, and in each of them there's one that's got a main message, and the others are what you're meant to hear as well. So you do you on that. If you're drawn to more than one of these, if you feel you could have a message on more than one of those sort of energies, then by all means do that. But whatever you've decided to do, when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, I've got the timestamps in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So you've come to the reading with Strength. A couple of things that I would say about this. Firstly, if it was the Strength card that drew you, then this is a message about either a strength that you're developing, strength that you need to recognize in yourself, or how to use your strength. This particular deck, the Strength has a very gentle feeling, but one must always remember that Strength is about power and energy. So it may be to do with how to use power, energy, or strength in a way that best works with you. Or it could be strength that is being brought to you by whichever is maybe the main spiritual entity that wants to talk to you, with a little bit from the ancillary sort of friendly entities connected with it. But whatever it is, this is about recognizing, using, building, or even asking for the support of strength in some way. So I would suspect if you've come to this reading, you have been drawn to it because you know that you have a strength you want to develop, or there is strength that you need for a situation. The other thing is that if you're drawn to it because it's the Nightshade Tarot, if you're familiar with this, it's a very nature-oriented tarot. So I would think that there's something about the natural world, the material world. This is more likely to be something that is playing out in the material world in one way or the other. It could have a very strong spiritual aspect to it, but I think it plays out in the material world as opposed to sort of something that is more maybe kind of psychological, shadowy, which might have been if you'd gone for the Dark Mansions Tarot, or something that's more in the sort of spiritual sort of realm around lifetime after lifetime. That might have been the case if you were drawn to the Ouroboros Tarot. And so there was a certain method to the tarots that I chose for this particular exercise. So those are the two things I would say. Now, what I want you to do, if you haven't already done it, is choose a number between 1 and 3. And basically that's number 1, that's number 2, that's number 3. Whatever that number is that you choose is the primary message, the primary way that strength energy is operating, and the primary entity that's talking to you. The other two are connected ancillary energies. So as I say, we're then going to use tarot and we're going to see what each of these are really saying in the context if they were the main messenger, and then a little bit about what it would mean if they were something else to set the context. So if you need to pause because I'm about to reveal what they are. So if you chose number 1, your main messenger is Maratha. Now, I'm going to go to the book because what I want to do with this, one of the things that's interesting about this deck is that it doesn't just use the entity that's been described here within its cultural context, it also adds in others. So if you're not familiar with Maratha, you may be familiar with some of the other similar energies and go with whatever resonates for you most. So Maratha, she's connected to Aries, as you would see with the symbol there, and Mars. So there's a lot about action. If you chose number 1, the strength is calling you to action in some way. She is also connected with Athena, which gives a very strategic mindset. Kali, which is destroy if necessary to recreate. Kahina and other maidens, and she represents necessity. So this is saying there is a necessity to use strength or build strength for a situation. She says it may entail either acceptance, tact, or wrath, depending on the situation. So to some degree, that may be something about the ancillary messages here as to whether or not we're looking at a kind of a strength and action that is tactful and diplomatic, or whether it's something that's cut through, crash through or crash. So we'll see what we get with the others. And she is saying in order to do what is necessary, you have to know what you want and fight for it if the need arises. So there's stakes. If you chose number 1, there's stakes involved in what you need to use your strength for. It's a call to revolution, whether against a oppressive external force or against a repressive inner spirit. So if it's within, it's something you need to shift in yourself. And it's about becoming a strategist, knowing who you are in relation to this, as opposed to just responding. It's more strategic and acting. So there's a very strong action energy to this, change energy, but how much you do it strategically and diplomatically and how much you do it like as a warrior, some of that may depend on what your strength is, and we'll see what comes out when we look at the message that she has with tarot, but it's going to be something in that realm. If you chose number 2, we have Divina. Now, Divina is connected with Saturn. So this is more of an energy of doing things over time, building strength over time. It has a sort of sense to me beyond anything else of, almost going to the gym and building a strength. It takes time, it takes repetition, it takes dedication. She is also connected with Pax, Wope, and Guanyin, and other winter crones. So there is also something a little bit detached. This feels quite fiery. This feels quite wintry. So whether your strength is being used in a more detached, longer term thing or in very quick and decisive action would probably depend on which is the major message. She is about cold and clear thought, unburdened by burning passions, and she's not into wishy-washy stuff at all. To encounter her or to bring about clarification, but it comes at a risk to anyone with thin skin or a weak will or a lack of discipline. So this is to use your strengths to be both very honest with yourself, but also honest with what is necessary. There's a kind of a this is what it is type of feeling that's coming with the message from Divina. If you chose number 3, we have Astaria. Now she's interesting because she's connected to astrology. She's also connected to Uranus. So again, change. Change is happening. If it's slow and a bit detached, fiery and kind of like confronting to the degree possible, or whether it's sort of change that's happening over time. She's inspired by Asteria, Asherah, and Nuit, and other heavenly mothers, and she represents the patterns of the universe and the spatial distribution of everything. Astrology is her domain. So for those of you who chose number 3, there could be a very strong energy here that is you would be good at astrology, or astrology will give you a very good sense about what strengths to use and when. Astrology is very good at understanding both your strengths to leverage and also your weaknesses to mitigate, and then the timing. It gives you a lot of a better sense in many ways than tarot, if I have to be honest, around timing with astrology. She protects purity, wonder, and the promise of existence within every child. So she is also about potentiality. For some of you, this may be a message about nurturing a child or nurturing a new project or something like that. To encounter her is to reconnect with your inner child, to reflect upon your personality, and to not lose yourself in trifles, petty qualms, or tragedies in life. So what does this all have in common? Why would this be a group, depending, regardless of whether this one's first, this one's first, or this one's first. I think this is all about using your strengths to enact change. But the differences is it about almost nurturing, building the potentiality within all and understanding the right timing and the right strengths to use? Is it about a kind of very structured, disciplined, cutting through all the rubbish type of change? Or is it, I'm going to deal with this in whatever way it needs to be done? It's about action. But if it's about action, you need some discipline and understanding. If it's about discipline, that shouldn't be so much that you don't do anything. And again, you need that understanding. If it's about understanding, it's not just to sort of sit in an icy way and judge everybody. It's about doing something. So just on that level, that'll show you how kind of this works. But we're now going to look at it with tarot. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with, if this is Maratha, if Maratha, what does she want to tell you about the action she's calling you to, if that's the main message? And then I'll talk about what I think it would mean as a ancillary message. So what is the main, or just the message overall, bearing in mind that I'm going to read first about the main and then as ancillary. Justice reversed, King of Wands reversed, Ace of Cups, Magician reversed, World. Now, the first thing actually that really strikes me when I see that is something that I thought when I first turned the cards, but then I got kind of carried away with going through each of them. That's 3 female entities. I did wonder whether the change has something to do with the balance of the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And when we have the King of Wands coming up reversed, and the Magician reversed, and then Justice reversed, I feel as though there is something in that space. If this is the major message from her, something has to end so that something new that is better can begin. And it is an injustice. So you are using your strength in some way to push through an injustice. Now, that could be something very deeply personal, or it could be something social, political, spiritual, or whatever. But I think it is about the ending of illegitimate power in one form or another. But it's interesting because I think that as a major message, Maratha is saying, fit this to what needs to be completed and what needs to be started. So if there is if there's a major emphasis on the Magician reverse and the King of Wands reverse, you may need the more forceful Kali-esque energy of this. Like, I'm just going to cut through it because it's just wrong. That's all there is to it. It has to end. Something new has to come in. But within this, there is definitely still the sense of what is the kind of diplomatic way, or what is the thing that follows. So if you have to be forceful because it really is a very bad situation, then know what you're actually wanting to bring in as well too. It's not just about endings, it's about what is creative coming out of it. But if it's a more subtle thing, a Magician reverse could be subtle, it could be an injustice, but there could be a lot of spin around it, then it's a more gentle diplomatic thing that ends that power and brings in the power of the heart. So if I think this, anybody who chose number 1 here, your strength is being used in shifting an illegitimate energy. The issue about how hard you have to go on it depends on how bad the energy is. If this is an ancillary one, then I think that it is saying, whether it is using discipline or whether it is in understanding, that it is to know that there are some illegitimate communication and so forth coming in, and that it is likely to pull towards something that is not just, but that there is an energy of understanding this in the greater sweep of time and or bringing heart when it's necessary. It's not just about discipline. So if you're not fully in the action, I'm taking this on, it may be more in the understanding of it and working out what should remain in the new world or the new opportunity. So it's like, don't forget in the midst of the ending what needs to sort of come through, understanding that and not being too dispassionate about it, if you know, depending upon which is the main, compared to this, if that was an ancillary. So then let's have a look at Davina, who is the winter crone. So she's a little bit more detached. So if this is your main messenger, she wants you to like see this in the greater sweep of time. She wants you to be a bit detached. She wants you to be very clear. So what message is she bringing if it's the main message? Ace of Wands, 8 of Pentacles. Oh, okay. Tower. Okay. Page of Cups reversed. King of Swords. Okay. So what she's saying What she's saying is that you have very strong mental acuity. Your sense of strategy, your sense of clarity is actually your strength. She wants you to know that. You have a very clear, very accurate view of something. When many around are very emotionally, they're pulled pillar and post depending upon the emotions. And any change to them is shocking and upsetting and so forth. But she says that you are kind of really developed in understanding the current system, but something is shifting. So the current relationship you're in, the current system you're in, the current workplace you're in, the current social situation, whatever it might be, there's going to be a lot of emotional immaturity around. So your clarity is going to be important, but you do need to understand that you also have to turn that mental acuity to what is the new energy coming through. And this is an area she's saying that you need to develop the strength in, because you're more you're more someone who's really good at analysing the past and the current situation and seeing how it all works rather than creating a new situation. So she says that you can do it. You can develop this. Your clarity will be necessary, but nevertheless, that is something to develop. If this is an ancillary thing, then I think that this is like, if it's either there's a lot of energy happening already or there's a lot of thinking about it, then as an ancillary energy, she would be saying you have the mental acuity to do this. Focus it on what is new rather than what is falling apart. Because this is such a long-term, as I say, almost frozen sort of energy, but the energy has to shift. So if this is ancillary rather than the main energy, then I think this is just saying that you need to kind of like consciously move your analysis into what could be new. Because there's a very fiery energy sending it through, or there's a very divine timing sort of energy sending it through. Then if you had Astaria as your main messenger, she is saying to you, 5 of Swords, 7 of Swords, 5 of Cups reversed, 2 of Pentacles reversed, 9 of Cups reversed. Okay, this is, so that makes sense. This makes sense if this is the main one, because this one here is, this is a big thing I have to change. This one here is we have to be very clear in whatever we do, whether it's small, moderate or big. This one is more detached really in many ways than Davina, like because it's looking at it, but it is also looking at the development that you want in the long-term development. What Astaria is saying to you is that whatever is triggering you wanting to protect and grow somebody else and grow their strengths, that energy, it's something disappointing has triggered this, but there are more options than you think, and there is a way to salvage that. The thing is that there's some battles that are just not worth having, so you don't necessarily go with Maratha and just crash or crash. This is about strategy. This is about strategy. And so in many ways, if Astaria is the main messenger, she would probably point to Davina's message about, yes, have the clarity, but she would point to Maratha and say, instead of having a battle, look at how you would build the new, because there actually are more options to do this than you think. Now, if this is a subsidiary issue, she's kind of like she's in some ways more detached than Davina, as I say. She's kind of going like, that's fine, go hard, or focus on like the kind of intellectual structure of this, but like don't waste your time on battles. Like it's not about winning, it's about being strategic. What happens when you go into battle is that you're thinking there's only 2 options, and there's actually more than that. So there's something here for you, using your strength in something that needs to change. But the degree of change and your focus or role depends very much on which one you chose. And I think it points to a particular strength you have. But it's also understanding that what is our strength is also potentially our weakness. That's why in some ways it's really good that we've got 3 very different approaches here, because it's almost like whichever primordial entity is talking to you here, the 2 others are giving the balance that is necessary. Okay, so let's see the fortune energy around this. Like what fortune is around you when these messages were important. So we're just going to get 3 cards from an Lenormand deck just to get a bit of a sense about what's going on with you at the moment with this. Star, this is good. This is good fortune. This is optimistic. This is hopeful. So and that's all. You have the strength to do this. So knowing that you have the strength and you're heading in the right direction is important. fox, but there are people not to trust. This is why we've got the magician reverse. We've got like various things. This is why the clarity is so important. This is why not fighting battles that are not necessary. You have to be clear because there are some people around this you can't trust. And garden, it has to be done in relation with others. So that's why we have, like, even if there's a forceful energy, there's still the detachment and understanding that allows you to see who else has to be involved. This will be public in one way or another. What you are doing connects with other people, and the connections that you make with other people is very important. So that's why we've got the moderating force on this energy in particular, but also the kind of warming up force on that one, and the let's get more into it kind of energy if that one is your main one. So let's roll the astro dice 3 times, one for each, just looking at an astrological energy that will really help you if it's the primary message. So if the primary message was Maratha, we have Aquarius, we have Sun in Aquarius in the 10th house. Okay, so this is saying to me that this is most likely to be in the powers of the world, in organisations or whatever, and it makes sense, justice or whatever. So it's big organisations, politics, social issues or whatever. This is allowing you to have the bigger picture understanding, and this is where these are helping Maratha, I think, with Aquarius. This is no, and it's also bringing in the new. Could be very connected to Pluto having gone into Aquarius. But you are about new, more interconnected, but more just energies, but it is in a powerful place on one form or another. This is very material for you. Okay, what about if it's Divina? We have the Sun in Sagittarius, so that's much more about philosophy, which makes sense, but also freedom, like unfreezing things in the 6th house. This is about service to others. You help others with your clarity. You help others with a broader and more educated thought. That is part of what you're meant to do. For some of you, it may literally point to some sort of academic career or teaching career, but otherwise it's your role in this, and what you are meant to do and what you're really good at is bringing that kind of philosophical clarity to help others. And then in terms of Astaria, which is your kind of, let's find the potentiality of the inner child, but let's also understand it kind of astrologically. We have the North Node in Sagittarius again, so they're very much connected. Sagittarius, like in philosophy, understanding the philosophy of things, again in the 6th house. So these two are very similar. These are both about service to others. This is about something in power. Now, that doesn't mean that doesn't serve others, but I think the people who chose Maratha, it's really going to play out in very big picture things in one form or another. Now, big picture doesn't mean it has to be world stage, though it could be for some of you, but it doesn't have to be. But it's big picture, whereas this could be very much, how one teaches, how one brings sort of an understanding of what one's direction, North Node is, like opens the mind to that and service. Like there's a very strong teaching energy with the other two, if either of those were the main one. And I'd almost say with either of these, when this is the main one, the other is the most important subsidiary, and then Maratha is kind of the engine room underneath it for the change. Okay, so let's also have a look at just other kind of personal predictions. We've looked at the Lenormand. Let's use the personal predictions deck to also see what else to be aware of when going through whatever this is that this message is about for you. Pile 1. The fast way. Okay, it's funny that fell there. I think Maratha would be the fast way. Divina would not be the fast way. So if you chose Divina, you might be feeling frustrated in the timing of it. Astrology, getting that higher order thing, planes, getting the higher order vision is potentially important. Support system. So you do need others around you. This is why the garden is there. This is not something you can do on your own. Lost sleep or fatigue. Don't burn yourself out. Probably particularly the case there. Improved situation. You are going to make things better, and a choice will be made. It will require a choice on your part. Whatever this is, a choice, of systems, of approaches, of how you speak. It may be the choice of, do I do it diplomatically or do I do it full on? It may be a choice of what is the natural choice that comes from clarity. It may be a choice of what is the most nurturing. But it is towards something good, but you could burn yourself out, so you do need to be aware. That's why your strength, that's why we got strength to start with. Monitor that. That's important. You do need to have other people around you, and you'll want to do this fairly quickly. But depending upon which is the main messenger, you may have to temper that a bit. Okay. So to finish up, I just thought I'd get you a magical sigil to support you. And so a bit in the spirit of it will depend on what you chose. I'm going to ask you to choose 1 to 3 again. And it doesn't have to be the same one, doesn't have to be the main messenger or whatever, but just choose 1 to 3, and depending upon that it's a protection or a message to bring this together for you. So again, if you need to pause, but otherwise, number 1, beauty, form over function, attraction. Okay, I think this is saying that your capacity to deal with others, and this connects with the garden and so forth, is about understanding the beauty of what you're doing and connecting it with others. And it's a bit of a support against the fox there, because it could be that some of the people who are the foxes in this may be very attractive, may be very beguiling, but this form over function sort of thing is understanding, being able to understand that and protect from that if it's not working for you. If you chose number 2, Archangel Virtual, the Archangel of Leo, so may connect quite a bit. Aries, Leo is a fire sign. It may warm that up a bit. Physical and spiritual life on all spheres of existence. So this is just giving you protection over the physical and spiritual aspects of what you're using your strength for. And if you chose number 3, gratitude, recognition of blessings, thankfulness and humility. So I think this is to be grateful for the advice you're getting here, and because you really are going to extend your strength and learn what your strength is and learn about yourself. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the Dark Mansions Tarot, and one of the reasons I chose the Dark Mansions Tarot is I feel like it represents kind of the shadowy side of things, dealing with the shadowy sort of energies and so forth. So the message could be about that in some way. The fact that it's the Hierophant, I think this has a lot to do with rules and the systems that we're in, and what is considered the right way to do things. And so it could be coming up because you want to challenge something like that. It could be coming up because you've been sort of initiated into some sort of spiritual or other system, and it's now like what to do next. It could be that you are dealing with real issues around that, dealing with, a taxation audit or something like that, like with that, and how to deal with that energy. But there's something about rules, systems, tradition here. Is it to change it? Is it to work better with it? It's going to be something in that space. And it could be spiritual beliefs, because the Hierophant is often like sort of religion and spirituality, but it could also be, as I say, very bureaucratic, or being in an academic environment, and what are the rules here, and how do we sort of prosper here? There's something about one or more external systems that this message is about, and how to deal with it. So, as I said, the important thing here is to choose 1, 2 or 3, because that's going to tell us which is the main primordial entity that wants to talk to you and which are the 2 subsidiary ones, and that will help me say what I think that all means as we go through. What we will do is that I will read from the book around this, because it tells you not only the entity that's depicted, but those that it's associated with, so that if you're not familiar with that one, you may be familiar with others, and we'll talk a bit about the general energy, and then we'll use tarot. So if you haven't already done it, choose a number from 1 to 3, and that will be your primary message. So bear that in mind when we go through the tarot. If you chose, and pause if you have to, and then unpause now. So if you chose number 1, we have Borealis. If you chose number 2, we have Aurora. If you chose number 3, we have Lumina. Okay, so when I look at the books to talk to you about this, when we look at Borealis to start with, this is inspired by Boreas, Typhon, Hurricane, and other wind spirits, and it represents the cold winds of winter. So it can cause storms, it can cause difficulty, privations, all of those sort of things. To encounter Borealis is a test of your endurance, resilience, and will to live. Life can be hard, cold, and unbearable at times, but strength of will overcomes all temporary weaknesses. So the energy here may be some sort of a battle of being different within some sort of system, or it may be a system that in itself, you're dealing with a system in itself that is very harsh and unyielding. So I think there's a very specific part of the message here which will be about how to be resilient in that, how to rise above that, and how to move through it. Now, it interests me, these other two both have the essence of like sunlight and spring. So I feel like if this is your main one, it's saying, yes, it is that way, but these are going to show you that things will gradually get better. It's like defrosting. It's like things get better. So I think the overall message of this is things are getting better. But I think if you chose number one, there is something about a system or a belief structure at the moment that is keeping you more frozen and in difficulty than helping you. So it's like, how do you shift out of that, or how do you change that in some way? If you chose number two, so you have Aurora, this is connected with Libra and Venus. She's inspired by Eos, Ostara, Freya, and other dawnbringers. So she represents the morning star of the east, which leads to the rising sun over the horizon. It's a new day, a new sense of hope, promise, and youth. To encounter her is a thing of beauty. She signals a new light of day, renewing the chances of a good day and a good life. So I feel as though if you chose this one, this is a message that difficulties you've had with some sort of a system, either you're getting to leave it, like say if you were like studying in academia and you just found it really restrictive, then you've graduated and you've got the new day to do what you want with it. There's that kind of energy. So things are already getting better. And so it's like understanding probably how to cast off any kind of systems or rules that are no longer going to serve you is what Aurora wants to talk to you about. And not dissimilarly, if you chose Lumina connected with Leo and the Sun, inspired by Sekhmet, Libertas, Ain, and other huntresses, she represents the brilliance of the sun, which liberates us from the dark, uplifts the spirit, and provides for all. So she goes where she's needed in whatever way is necessary to liberate others. So it's almost as though, in actual fact, we've got you're dealing with this issue if you chose number one. You're coming out of that issue if you chose number two. You're actually going in to help others and liberate others if you chose number three. To encounter her is a relief. Her presence is a light in the dark, but also a boon of strength against all dangers. So she's very strong. She takes on the form of a lioness to move things forward. So I feel like this one really does matter which one you chose, because it's almost showing your role in whatever this message is. But whatever it is, it's about a system. And I would say it's a system that it's either moving from a system that didn't work for you into one that is going to work for you, or it's needing to liberate people from a system that's no longer working, or it's how you survive in one until the liberation comes. But with these messages, liberation is coming. The cavalry, so to speak, is on its way. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a row of tarot for each of them. And I'm going to ask there, first I'm going to look at it as the major message, and then I'm going to look at what it would be if it was an ancillary message. So we're just going to go through each. So for Borealis, what message is Borealis bringing, either as the main messenger or as an ancillary messenger? Strength, yeah, the need for strength, that makes sense. Actually, I think it's very much connecting over to that. The Hermit reversed. The Three of Cups reversed. The Nine of Cups reversed. The Chariot reversed. Okay. If you chose Borealis, this really is, you do feel kind of frozen. Like Borealis is showing you that there is a period of time, maybe even when you need to be. I think he's very much pointing to the cavalry is coming though. So to know that, and like you may partner with the cavalry to actually help shift and change that which is frozen or not working in whatever system that you're in. But you are going to be required to come out and say something. The thing is that whatever's going on at the moment is that nobody's really happy with this system. You may feel that you're the one that is sort of like outside of it all, but nobody's really happy with it. So it's the time. That's why we've got this sort of sense of like, if these were the ancillary, that, you know, like a new dawn is coming, new people are coming, all of that is happening. It is a good time. It's like, so I think it is indicating that whatever the struggle is, it's close to ending, but you are going to be required to partner with others to unfreeze the situation, because I think you know the situation better than most because you're an insider. This is maybe one who was an insider but has moved away, and this is one who comes in to help. That's the kind of energy around it. If this is ancillary, then you have something that you've understood from being in the system or systems like it in some way that is going to help you either not have that occur in a new system or help others. So again, it's like understanding you kind of the main message here is you're not alone in the disquiet of the current belief system. And you, whatever perspective you have, whether you feel you're stuck in it or whether you feel that you're one of these other ones, you can connect and talk about that because you understand the system and its impact on others. So, it feels like shifting a system in some way, shifting a workplace. But it's also, like as I say, if it's like academia or something like that, you're probably not going to shift it overly. But there are others maybe in liberating from it that come and sort of say, okay, like it's not all just about what you were told or propagandized within an educational system. There is actually, now that you're out of it, you can actually do more. So if you chose Aurora, which makes me feel like you've left a system or a way of learning or something like that, or you are about bringing in something new and completely changing it, but it's full of beauty and hope, the main message for you is Knight of Wands reverse. You can't rush this. Yeah, you can't rush new growth. Page of Cups, you just have to keep the eye on the emotional prize. Five of Wands reverse. It's not going to be as contentious as you might have thought. Five of Cups reverse, because others agree. Like there's something here about others want change as well. High Priestess, very spiritual connections. And you may uncover mysteries. And this may even be, like if this is spiritual, this may be that you're coming out of a very rigid religion and you're moving into something spiritual, but you'll find you're not alone and it's not as contentious and that there are some things that are in common. It's just not as rigid for whatever reason. So it's saying you don't have to hurry. It's not going to be that conflict-based now because others will want to follow. But for you, the main thing to focus on is the heart and the mysteries that you want to bring forward, or the spiritual alternative, the different way of knowledge or doing the right thing is operating. If that's an ancillary, it's just understanding again, others will come with you. You're not going to sort of rush anything. You understand, say, if that was the main one, that it's going to take time to defrost. And if it's that one, there's some battles to be had. But you're not actually the one who's having to do the battles if that's the case. You just need to kind of give the heart and the direction once the defrosting and the liberation starts. Now, if you are with the liberator over here, and that's the main message, Ace of Cups reverse, got to be a bit dispassionate, and there's a bit of a broken heart that's pushing this. There's some sort of emotional disappointment is also going to help you with all of this. Ace of Swords reverse. So yeah, and there's a new way of thinking, new way of feeling that's meant to come in, but it has to be connected with others. It can't be done on its own. The first way this is going to show up is in something very material. Yeah, it's like, if it's this one has the most, if that's your main one, there's sort of like some very material, legal rules and regulations type of thing. Like if that's the case, this is very much dealing with a system, I would say, that is not working for people and it's shifting to something new. And the first thing is almost like some rules or regulations shift around the material outcomes and opportunities for people. It's done to be more community focused, less institution focused maybe, and it will liberate new ideas and new ways of thinking, but it's sort of happening because at the moment the heart and the true intellect is not getting liberated. It's kind of calcified, which is this sort of energy here. If this is subsidiary, it's saying these new things will happen. Your role is to try and help with the material outcomes of something in some way, influence the rules, regulations, connect it to community. So this one, I do feel it's very shadowy because I think it's about shadowy energies within institutions on one form or another, workplaces, religious, academic, any of those sort of things. And it is about something that needs to shift because it's no longer serving people, but depending upon which is your main one, your role in this is very distinct. Okay, so let's have a look at just some fortune energy with Lenormand for you personally in this, almost regardless of which one is your main messenger. The Cavalier. Okay, there's a man associated with this. Like the Cavalier is like the man and Lenormand is a man and a lady. So there is a man somehow important to this. It could be someone who's a leader there. It could be someone who is, if you're either of these are your main messenger. It may be a male energy that's coming to help. It could be, if this is a subsidiary one, that it's a male who really understands the system, but there's a man who's important in some way to this situation. Something has to end. Something has to change. And it's going to be like just cut off. It's just something has to, you may actually have to cut a connection with a key male actually for this to work. And how? So that, yes, so that something that is more secure, more nourishing can come about. For some of you, okay, this is very specific, but this could be all about a very personal thing. This could be about a marriage, to be honest, when I look at this. Just probably, if that's the case, you're female, a marriage or someone that you're living with. And it's like dealing with the rules to liberate from that so that you have your own home and your own place. Or it could be about, if you're in business with someone, cutting the business ties so that it's your business. But like it's something really, there is a definitive break with the old structures for the new associated with this. Let's see with each of them the astrological energy. So we'll use the astro dice. So if Borealis, the insider dealing with the wintry current situation, is the main messenger, something else around that is 7th house, so connecting with relationships with others. Pluto, big changes in relationships with others. Aries, yeah, this is like, this has to defrost, this has to change. But you really do have to connect with other people. You can't, so if you are a whistleblower, you need to connect with others who can help. If you're an insider that somebody comes to help, then you need to make that connection, and you need to make the connection with those outside about what could now be done. But this is a big ticket thing if you chose Borealis, but it is very much connected with relationships with others. For some of you, it may be about a relationship with a significant other, as I say, whether it's a business partner or a love relationship, in which case it's changing completely. Aurora, if that's the main one, we have the South Node, so moving away from something, the 11th house, Scorpio. This is moving away from, Aurora with the new thing, a new hope, is moving away from the more shadowy with Scorpio. And I mean, I'm a Scorpio, so I'm not meaning to have a go, but Scorpio can be quite shadowy and quite, lots of power undercurrents or whatever, moving away from that kind of social group to moving towards something that is sort of less scorpionic. It's more sort of the heart or something. And again, I'm not saying if you're a Scorpio you don't have a heart. That would be saying I was heartless, but I'm just talking about a kind of energy. And then if we're talking about the protector over here, being the main message, this is also the South Node. This is moving away from relationships, Leo, that are too... That's interesting because there's a very Leonian energy there. This is moving away from relationships that are too probably ego-based, power-based, glory-based. But it almost takes a Leonian energy to do that. So it's almost like it takes one to know one. Though I don't think that this means that you're going to become as rigid as that, because your role is different and how you see things is different. But in a weird way, the people who tilt it at institutions have to be enough like them or know them well enough to be able to do it. But it's moving away from those connections, moving to something that's healthier, liberating people from that kind of environment. Okay. So let's also see with the personal predictions deck some other personal prediction energy around this for you. Again, kind of like it doesn't really matter which is the main one, but bearing in mind what the main message was for you. Reach out, help needed. So I think in all of them you need to connect with others, but it needs to be the right people. Calm, peace, clear mind. No, I think this is just kind of, it's going to be a little bit strange at first, but stay calm. Things are heading in the right direction. Mental struggle. Yeah, it is more a mental struggle than anything. And particularly, I think if you chose Borealis. Consequences of a bad choice. You may have ended up in a bad situation, a bad institution, a bad academic line of study, a bad relationship. Like this is getting out of that, understanding that that is involved, and you need patience. There could be some delays in this, but it will in there. And this was saying, particularly with the Aurora, it takes a while to build something new or better. Okay, so there's a bit of a struggle associated with this one, I think, but you will come out of it, and depending upon your role you play, I think a liberating or a enlightening or a bringing back hope and inspiration to others. But this is a system that needs change, I have to say, whatever it is that we're talking, system, relationship, or arrangement that needs change. So I thought I would end with a sigil to protect you, give magical protection. And similarly to this, I'm going to ask you to choose 1 to 3. It doesn't have to be the same as the choice of your main message, but pause if you need to. But depending upon whether you choose 1, 2, or 3, it's a different closing protection. So if you chose number 1, we have Archangel Michael, Archangel of Fire. Okay, that'll give you the victory. This is physical fitness and beauty as well, but like this is getting in and doing the battle. I feel like kind of quite connected to the protector, but really to any of them, you will be protected in this battle. That's very heavy protection. If you chose number 2, Joy. Okay, it's interesting that fell under Aurora. The outcome of this will be really happy. It's like you've got to get through it, but you will be so much happier once it's occurred. And if you chose number 3, Archangel Hamaliel, Archangel of Virgo. So it's integration of things, reintegration of things, strength to resist the adversary. So yeah, you have the strength to deal with whatever pushback there is. So it's going to come out well, whatever happens, but you have some pretty powerful archangel energy also watching over you while you go through this. So I hope that resonates. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the Sun, which is a optimistic card. I mean, it is optimism, new beginnings, all that kind of thing within the tarot more classically. And I tend to read it as a confirmation of life path. So I would feel with this that depending upon which you choose, it tells you something very key about who you are, like almost like what tribe you belong to spiritually or in terms of your life path. And or your potentiality and what's going on with that. And then probably the other 2 will be supporting energies within you that support your life path. So I think that's the way that we'll look at it. There's a real feeling here with the fact that the child's jumping off the horse and the horse is raring to go. I do feel there may be a separation energy operating with it, only because of the way that it is. There's a lot of energy and joy, but there's also a feeling of separation to me with that particular version of the Sun. So it may be that if there are energies in the message that are about things that you need to leave behind or free yourself from to become what you're meant to do, that's something to focus on as well. What we will do is we'll go to the book for each of these when I turn them over, because it not only talks about the primordial entity that you see, but also other similar energies in other mythologies and cultures, so that it may be, if you're not familiar with one, you may be familiar with others. But it'll give you the overarching sense of it and what it's about, and then we'll use tarot. But I do think for this reading in particular, this is about you finding your life path and maybe separating from things that no longer serve you or you no longer need. They weren't necessarily bad though, I don't think, but it's almost like a separation energy that puts you on the right path. I think that it's got something to do with that. So if you haven't already chosen 1 to 3, please pause and do that now, because I'm about to turn it over. So if you chose number 1, your primary messenger is Sophia. Okay, if you chose number 2, your primary messenger is Oceanos. And if you chose number 3, your primary message is Prometheus. Oh, wow, okay. So let's have a look at the different ones. So, sorry, I just had to pause there because I actually had like bookmarks in here and one of them flew out, so I had to get it ready. So, okay, if you have Sophia. So Sophia is actually the sort of divine feminine embodiment of wisdom, knowledge, and Gnosis, so to speak, and Gnosticism, amongst other things. This connects her to Mercury. It's inspired by Sophia, Sechat, Vegioa, and other oracles. So there's an oracular energy. So this has got something to do with an oracular energy. Represents mediation, divination, and poetic interpretation. She is the exalted goddess of philosophy, since it's defined as her love of her wisdom. But it's not just analytic or prosaic. It's poetic, it's metaphorical, it's subliminal. To encounter is a good time to pay attention and to reconsider the story you're telling about yourself. So this may be understanding your true path as opposed to what's brought you here, but where you're going now, and what's the story you've told yourself. What truths about yourself are you hiding? What realities are you trying to escape from? What do you really believe? You know, is it still true? So this is like finding your new story, your new wisdom, your new path that has something to do with the message that's being brought, if that's your major messenger. If your major messenger you chose was number 2 with Oceanos, Oceanos is also inspired by Oceanus, Tangoria, Ryojin, and other sea gods. It represents chaotic forces and contents in the ocean. So this is about a measurement of the rhythmic waves within you. Are they soothing, repetitious, tumultuous? Have they overtaken you? What do you see? How do you feel? So this is telling you that you have to go within your emotions and look for the rhythms to know what the new pathway is. And it's very deep, I would say, with Piscean, very spiritual, but very deep, very emotional. It's the waves. What are the waves of your own emotions? Where are they taking you in terms of your life path? And then we have Prometheus, famously the one who gave fire to mankind. So connected with Mars, inspired by Prometheus, Vulcan, Svarog, and other craftsmen. It represents the works and projects of humanity. Fire was stolen from the gods to empower our self-determination. To encounter Prometheus is to be handed the power of creation. It is now yours. What will you make with it? And will the ends justify the means? Will you risk the unforeseen consequences? Forethought is either a gift or a curse, depending on whether your aims are for the benefit of humanity or something else. So I feel like if Prometheus was your main message, it is about what are you going to create in yourself and your life path now. But you have the help of Sophia bringing oracular foresight. So you do have that foresight and you have the emotions. So I think that Prometheus, if that was your main message, would be asking you to understand the emotional undercurrents of what you do with the information that is brought to you in an oracular way. If you are the oracle, then if Sophia is there, it's asking what are the emotional issues and what will you make of it? If it's Oceanus that is the main message about your life path, it's what is the emotional energy and the undercurrents that take you to something new, but what do you understand with foresight and what, again, will you create and what are the consequences of that? So this is about creation of your life path. It is. But it's interesting because it's a separation from something else as well. So this is a separation. This is the oracle, but it's a separation. Maybe you have to think about, are you separated from your emotions or are you separated from the consequences of what you create? And you need to kind of work out, do I need to reconnect those or not? If you are mainly in emotions, are you separated from what the consequences could be, like what you could see as foresight and what you want to create? Is it too emotional for you to be able to see the consequences of your actions? And if you are with Prometheus, then you may be creating something without thinking about the emotional or the longer term impacts. So there's something here about understanding the implications of a more independent choice now in terms of creation and making your future. So let's use the tarot. So we're going to go one by one. We're going to start with Sophia, if Sophia is the main one, and then I'll talk a little bit about the message if it's ancillary, and we'll go through each one by one. So if Sophia is your main messenger, Sophia's message, and then I'll talk about if it's the main message or if it's ancillary. So what is Sophia's message? The Lovers reversed, the Ace of Wands reversed, the Star reversed, the Eight of Cups reversed, the Six of Wands. Okay, so this is very much in the realm of the oracular. It's almost in an otherworldly realm, I have to say. Because Sophia, of course, is in Gnosticism. She is the mother of Ouroboros, who created the earth and imprisons us to some extent. And she is always trying to reach down to bring us gnosis and free us from that. So I think this is why we're seeing primarily in her message reverse cards. It's like this is coming to you through the subliminal. It's not necessarily coming through direct things happening in your world. It could be if you're having a relationship breakup or something and that's the independence and you're now finding yourself, then it could be operating, but it's still operating in very much in the realm of like what is your bigger spiritual purpose as well as what's going on in the material world. She is saying that you are meant to be victorious and be recognized and move forward in a good way. This is actually a good thing, but you do need to understand where did you stray from your life path, and what of that are you needing to separate from? What, if you're going to move forward. So I think she's coming to try and tell you where were you imprisoned by your own choices, your relationships, and your own goals, because they're getting in the way of you getting there. So And she would probably say if this was, like a subsidiary thing, you need to understand that to understand the emotion or to understand the consequence, depending upon which is the main message. But it really is saying that there's something in a path that wasn't right for you, you have to let go of, and that's going to be a bit of a struggle, and it may have to do with relationships with others to go towards what you're meant to do. So there's a separation operating on some level here. Okay, so as I say, if it's ancillary, it's just, you've got to understand you're a bit imprisoned by some of your connections, and like a fondness for whatever mattered before. And so, particularly maybe if that's emotional, what are the emotional things you need to kind of let go of? So let's go into the realm of the emotions. If that is actually your main message, or the message coming from this God of the Sea, Queen of Cups, Knight of Wands reversed, Empress reversed, Judgment, Resurrection. Okay. So I think there's a distinct difference actually, like between these two. Like I think that they're both looking at the past, but in slightly different ways, or in different ways. I think that if Sophia was the main one, there is something from the past you're not letting go of, and you need to do that to find your future. If you, however, chose the ocean god here, they're saying that you are actually good with emotion. This is why this is a good filter, and you can take your time, but it's more that there is something from your past that you actually need to resurrect because you didn't give it the chance that it could have, and now you are going to be able to do that. Now, they could be operating completely in tandem. It could be that if you, for instance, grew up in a household of lawyers and you just became a lawyer because that was what your family did, and you're now at a point where you really want to be the poet, the poet sort of feeling here, then there could be a kind of, I really do want to go and do that. And this would be saying emotionally you need to do that to resurrect your full potential. But it might be a little bit hard to let go of the success that you've done so far. So there's something here about separating, and it could be separating from something that was working for a time but is not going to work for you in the future. But the difference between those two is I feel like this is just if Sophia is the main one, there's a pretty big cut from something, whereas I think if it is, I can't remember the name, Oceanus, that's right, then this is actually a cut from the present to go back to something and resurrect something from the past. But if this is subsidiary, then there's something from your past that can actually create your future, and you have a good emotional energy. So if it's refinding your path, there's something also from your past, not the thing that you found hard to let go of, but something else that can be brought back that can help. And if it's about the creation, then this is maybe almost the recreation of something that maybe didn't work, but in a different form. Then if we have Prometheus, what would Prometheus's message be? Eight of Pentacles, it's all the craft, it's all the work. King of Cups reversed, Seven of Swords, Tower reversed, the Wheel of Fortune. It's making me feel like the Prometheus card here is also a bit like Hephaestus. It's a kind of a sense of that if this is the main message, that's in the skill and the craft that the healing is found. But you have to be clever about it because there's risks associated with it. Do it step by step, don't rush it, and do it at the right time. So I feel like the Promethean energy here, if the main message is, yes, you can do this and you can build the skills to do it, and it will be healing and you will get back on path, but you can't do it all at once. So if it's Prometheus, there's a certain cautionary thing about take it step by step and watch for the timing. This is a strategy as much as anything else. But don't doubt that you have the skills, you can do it. And that would then be using, the oracular energy to help you work out the timing, and it would be using kind of the mind and strategy and step by step to not have it being emotionally overwhelming. If Prometheus is more a subsidiary, then it is saying, yes, work out whichever this is. Are you resurrecting something, or are you letting go of something, or some combination of both? But do it all step by step and watch for the timing, because there's kind of risks associated with it, as Prometheus had when he gave fire to mankind. Okay, So let's have a look at some fortune energy for you with it using Lenormand. So this doesn't really matter which was your choice. It really is fortune energy about you deciding, like, because even Prometheus was like the world before he gave fire and the world he gave after fire were very different. There is a really sharp cut from something, but it could be resurrecting things as well too, and using the knowledge of the past in the way that truly oracular people do to be able to predict the future. So let's see the fortune energy. Sun, yes, sun. This is good. This is meant, and it is actually really not overestimate. It is really kind of emphasizing, that's the word I'm looking for, the optimistic energy, because this is a very optimistic energy as well in the Lenormand. So be optimistic. Even the risks associated with that, you're all over it if you've just worked out to like watch for the timing and use Sophia's guidance on that and emotionally regulate yourself. The second fortune energy is book. There's learning to be done, things yet to be discovered. Give yourself time to understand everything about this. And thirdly, tower. Now this is, take a step by step. The tower in Lenormand is sort of the opposite meaning to the tower in tarot. It means that this is sustainable, this is secure. You can trust this process. So I really don't think the full risk of Prometheus is there, but it is saying be strategic. If you did choose Prometheus, then be a little bit more strategic about it. There's maybe greater risks, but you do have the sort of like help that you need. Okay, let's see astrologically what the energy is depending on which you chose. So if you chose Sophia using the Astro Dice, we have Jupiter in the 10th house in Pisces. So this is kindness. The kindness is a very big part of this in doing a very big material change. This is going to be a change that's seen in your career or who you are in the world. But it emphasizes your kindness and it emphasizes your connection with others. And it is a very, very spiritual thing. It kind of marries the spiritual energy of Pisces with the intellectual energy of Gemini. So this is a very benefic energy. Just as Sophia is trying to be a benefic energy to humanity, what you're doing here will be benefic in one form or another and quite publicly seen. It'll happen somewhere to do with your career or something like that. If you chose Oceanus, you have Saturn in the 7th house in Sagittarius. This is all about deciding what relationships to be free of and what ones to commit to. It's very much about connections with other people and what are going to stand the test of time of this and what do you need to be free of. If you chose Prometheus, we have Pluto in the 1st house in Taurus. Of course, like the material things that are coming out of this, what are you actually making that is connected to you and really true who you are? There's a very big shift. So yeah, like as I say, the world changed completely between when Prometheus hadn't given fire and when Prometheus did give fire. It also had a hugely changing impact on the fortunes of Prometheus. So this is about who you really are and how you want to present yourself. You're going to change that in some very distinct way, but it is a very grounded way and it is a way to bring about the life that you want, and it's very materially obvious. Okay. So let's also see with the personal predictions deck some other fortune energy around it for you. Again, this is sort of immaterial of which one was your main messenger. Social connection. So there's something about connecting with others that's going to be important to this. Success, celebrate. Yeah, it is going to be successful. This has been saying all along. This is a successful thing. Avoid or keep to yourself. So there may be certain things that you have to be strategic or you have to keep private. It's interesting there. Like it's like maybe some things have to be kept private and secret, like secret knowledge. Change is coming. Yeah, change is coming through. And look for the timing. Brain fog or confusion. Okay, so the one thing to be aware of is maybe it's sometimes overwhelming. It might be particularly if you chose Oceanus, but either way, it's like give yourself the time to work through all the sort of implications of things. Don't sort of rush forward or do something. That's why you had the tower reverse. Take things step by step and don't rush through change because it might be confusing at first. Okay. So just to finish off, I just want to bring you a magical sigil protection. And similarly to the beginning, I'm going to ask you to choose a number between 1 and 3, and that will be your particular one for this reading. It doesn't have to be the same one as the choice there. So if you need to, pause the video because I'm about to deal them out. So if you chose number 1, the future, passage of time, unknown and inevitable, knowable and changeable. Yeah, the real gift in this and the protection is that you have the oracular ability. You have some sense already of consequences of things and you can understand your emotions. So this is all about heading towards the future. But it actually, I think this is to let you know, I guess, what are the unknown and known unknowns and what do you actually know, and being able to connect those two. So this is very future oriented, but it's very positive, remember. If you chose number 2, the 4 seasons, the cycles of life. So this is happening. This is the timing. There are good times to do this. Pay attention to the seasons. Pay attention to the moon cycles, all of that kind of thing. This is going to, and particularly I think if you went with Prometheus, this is going to ground you to what is meant to be brought into the world and when it's a good time to move forward. And if you chose number 3, we have protection overall, safety from spiritual and physical harm. So whatever you're doing, again, it's maybe particularly if you did Prometheus, but either way, you're protected from too much emotion. You're protected from this being too kind of like separate and analytical, and you're protected from consequences of action without knowing what could be coming. So overall, it's a very strong protection in general for you with this. You can go forward with confidence. You've got the right timing. This is future oriented. It's the right future and you're protected. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.